I'm Liz Peterson, speech-language pathologist with over 23 years, and my company is Speech and Voice Enterprises, where we focus on business and communication topics. Now we are entering a new series called Never Sound Nasal Again. In our last series, we talked about how to speak with a more powerful and stronger voice. And in order to do that completely, we need to talk about this term called resonance. And I bet a lot of you are not familiar with that term. Resonance simply means where we place our voice. Remember last time we talked about our voice is really purely just sound waves, and you can actually direct where they go. So if you speak with some nasality, you absolutely have the ability to change where you place your voice. I am going to talk about the 3 different types of resonance, and then I'm going to talk about chest resonance, a term voice and speech coaches use. Let's begin with pharyngeal resonance. This is where you launch your voice from your lower throat, and your vocal folds are housed in your lower throat. Ideally, when you speak from that optimal pitch range, which we learned in our last video series, we want to be speaking from our lower throat, producing voice here. I talked about that when you produce your voice from your lower throat, it almost feels as if your chest bone is vibrating. And it's not even it almost feels. You do feel vibratory feedback here when you speak from your lower voice. Speaking from this area is what is going to give you that more powerful voice. And when it comes to communication and leadership, how that is judged as those who are thought of as good leaders through communication are those who speak with good controlled intonation, which you're going to learn about that later, and speaking from that lower throat. So very much pharyngeal resonance is a part of that. Now we're going to talk about oral resonance, and that's where we produce our sound waves and we get our sound waves to come out and forward. We want our sound waves to come from our mouth. If you are somebody who mumbles, we're not getting good range of motion here. It's not really possible to have that good oral resonance. Also, if you're a monotone speaker where you're not really having much variations in your pitch tones, it's not really possible to get good oral resonance either. When you learn how to speak with more engaging intonation, which is one of our upcoming series, you will learn that when you are learning this intonation strategy, that you want to speak with greater range of motion here. And for many of you, if English is not your first language, you are probably more of that monotone speaker. And the concept of moving your mouth more is going to feel funny. If you're a mumbler, the concept of moving your mouth is going to feel funny. But if you are somebody who frequently says, you know, I don't speak with much projection, that's not really about voice. Projection is getting your sound waves to carry, and for that to happen, you need to launch them from your oral cavity. So as you're communicating next week, this week, as you're practicing these strategies, I want you to be mindful of how much you move your mouth for talking. If you want to speak with greater projection and have more power, you should actually have a nice combination of both oral and pharyngeal resonance to have that nice, powerful voice. So the last part of resonance is nasal resonance, and that's where you place your voice more up here in your nasal cavity. When you speak from your nasal cavity, your voice is thin, high. It's not rich, pure, and strong. It is absolutely opposite. And remember, when it comes to leadership, we want a stronger, pure tone. So speaking from your nasal cavity is not going to give you that good leadership speech. Now, many of you, nasal resonance is cultural. Many Spanish speakers from Venezuela or Chihuahua, Mexico, French speakers, other European speakers have some nasal resonance. Your voice will be stronger and more powerful if we can get you more to that oral pharyngeal resonance. Now, not all nasality has to be this extreme where you are purely speaking from your nasal cavity. There's what I call in the book a parallel universe where you're speaking with nasal resonance, but it's not 100%. You're not in that nice, good oral place where you're in that nice lower throat, getting those stronger tones. It's not totally nasal speech like this. You're kind of speaking with some nasal resonance where you're definitely not speaking from your optimal pitch range. Your voice is thinner and higher, and you have some nasal resonance. But you can control where you place your voice. So if you feel that you're speaking from this neighborhood, let's get down into this lower throat region where you can speak with more power and have better resonance. In our upcoming series, I'm going to show you the test for nasal speech. And if you are a nasal talker, we'll have some more videos on strategies on how to eliminate that nasal resonance. So please join us next Monday for another episode of Motivating Mondays. Bye-bye.